You ever play a game thinking, alright, this'll be fun, and then 15 minutes later you're staring at the screen like, what did I just witness? Yeah, same. Some games hit you with jump scares, others with twisty plot reveals, and some, they just burrow into your brain and mess with your expectations in ways you didn't even know were possible. I'm talking about games that start off innocent, maybe even a little slow, and then bam! Suddenly you're knee-deep in a cosmic horror mystery, arguing with a talking card, or questioning your entire moral compass. You know, typical Tuesday stuff, whether it's psychological breakdowns, fourth wall breaking chaos, or just a story that dropkicks your emotions into the sun. These 20 PS5 games don't just surprise you, they shock you. Some will haunt you, some will hug you, then haunt you, and a few might even make you question reality itself. So buckle up, maybe keep a blanket nearby for emotional support, and let's dive into the games that pulled the rug out from under us and then set the rug on fire. This is gonna get weird. At first glance, it's a walking simulator with a weird house. But what remains of Edith Finch is the kind of game that sneaks up on your heart. You explore the sprawling Finch home, learning how each family member died in increasingly bizarre, magical, or tragic ways. A boy imagines himself as a sea monster. A baby drowns in a bathtub, while classical music plays. The game plays with form constantly. A comic book, fish-chopping minigame, even an old-school horror scene. Each story hits like a memory, and each one breaks you just a little more. It's not just shocking, it's unforgettable. You expected stealth. You didn't expect emotional devastation. In Requiem, Amisha and Hugo return, and the stakes are so much higher. The visuals? Breathtaking. The rats? More nightmarish than ever. But what really stuns you is how this sequel transforms from historical drama into mythic horror. Hugo's powers spiral. Amisha slowly breaks. And by the time the world starts literally falling apart around you, the question becomes, would you sacrifice a kingdom to save your brother? The game answers that in a way you won't forget. You're not just shocked, you're gutted. You're a writer trapped inside his own story. Or is it someone else's? Or is the darkness writing it for you? Alan Wake feels like a Stephen King novel came to life, complete with flashlight combat and cryptic radio broadcasts. It's less about killing shadows and more about losing your grip on what's real. And by the end, when you realize the story was controlling you, it's not scary. It's existential. It's not just hard, it's horrifying. Bloodborne starts like Victorian horror. Werewolves, dark alleys, creepy doctors. But then, it shifts. You realize it's not about beasts, it's about ancient cosmic gods. The monsters get weirder, the world gets wronger, and the lore? Oh boy, the lore is full-on Lovecraftian brain melters. You're no longer hunting beasts. You're unraveling the truth of the universe, and it doesn't care if your sanity survives. It's the kind of shock that builds slowly, quietly, and then sucker punches you in the eyes with an amygdala the size of a cathedral. It starts off strange, and then gets stranger. You're Jesse Faden, the new director of the world's weirdest government agency. The building changes shape, objects talk, your gun morphs, and the documents? Hilarious, horrifying, and hypnotic. Then the game introduces a refrigerator that kills people if you blink, a mirror that flips reality, a maze that dances to music. Control never explains everything, and that's what makes it so beautifully shocking. It's easy to joke about Death Stranding being a delivery simulator, but that's like calling Interstellar a farming movie. What starts as a bizarre courier quest becomes a deep meditation on isolation, connection, and grief. Kojima throws everything at you. Ghost babies, time rain, invisible monsters, literal pea grenades, and somehow it all works. You're building roads, reconnecting people, crying at holograms. And when the big reveals drop, especially in the director's cut, it stops being weird for weird's sake and becomes weird with heart. It's shockingly meaningful and shockingly addictive. Anime Girls. High school poem. Looks innocent, right? Until Sayori doesn't show up to class. Doki Doki is the ultimate trap. It lures you in with kawaii fluff, then slams you with psychological horror, fourth wall-breaking madness, and legit corrupted save files. Your choices get overridden. Characters start realizing they're in a game. By the end, you're not playing for fun anymore. You're trying to escape the AI that fell in love with you. Unsettling in the best way. You expect ghosts and spells in Tokyo. What you don't expect is empty streets filled with floating umbrellas, faceless schoolgirls, and Slenderman lookalikes in suits. Ghostwire throws Japanese folklore at you like neon confetti and then says, now fight it with finger ninjutsu. It's bizarre, but kind of beautiful. And under all the paranormal pizzazz, a surprisingly touching story about grief, loss, and holding on in a world gone quiet. Senua doesn't just hear voices, you hear them too. Thanks to binaural audio, the whispers crawl into your ears, doubting every step you take. The game never says, this is schizophrenia. It shows you through haunting puzzles, gut punch combat, and dreamlike hallucinations. Hellblade puts you inside a broken mind, and dares you to find meaning there. No HUD, no markers, just raw, emotional horror that lingers long after the credits. It starts as a card game. Harmless, right? Wrong. Inscryption is a masterclass in bait-and-switch design. You're stuck in a creepy cabin playing a roguelike card game with a shadowy figure. Just when you settle in, the game breaks. It turns into a retro RPG, then a creepy computer file explorer, then a metafictional horror tale. Every time you think you understand it, it evolves. And the scariest part? You're not sure where the game ends and where you begin. You start running. No tutorial, no dialogue, just a boy in a red shirt fleeing something. Inside is minimalist horror at its finest. It makes you feel unsafe with every step. The world is cold, oppressive, and full of grotesque secrets. You get chased by dogs, trapped in mind control puzzles, and eventually turn into a pulsating flesh blob. Yeah, didn't see that coming, did you? The ending is pure nightmare fuel and leaves you wondering what it all meant. It's art. It's horror. It's a brainworm that never leaves. This is the kind of game that makes you feel small, in every way. Little Nightmares 2 takes the disturbing world of the first game and dials it up to, what the actual hell? You're a tiny figure running from monstrous adults, a teacher with a stretchable neck, a doctor who crawls on ceilings, faceless mannequins that only move when you're not looking. It's a side-scroller, but it feels massive. Every shadow hides something sinister. Every escape feels lucky, and just when you get used to it, the ending punches you right in the gut with a twist that reframes everything. A World War II drama wrapped in slow-burn psychological horror? That's Martha is Dead. It's eerie. It's unsettling. It doesn't flinch. You play a young woman dealing with her twin sister's death until you start questioning who really died. The game mixes photorealism with surreal horror, even asking you to peel faces and develop photos in terrifying detail. It's not for the faint of heart, and that's exactly why it shocks so deeply. Ignore the title. It's not a math equation. NieR Replicant is a slow build into emotional destruction. You think it's a typical action RPG about saving your sister, but then time skips. Characters break. The world darkens. And once you finish it, you realize you have to play again, and each time reveals more truths. By the fifth ending, you're sacrificing your save file to save a character, literally erasing yourself from existence. It's brutal. It's beautiful. It shocks you by making you care, then asks you what you're willing to give up for love. This one doesn't shout, it whispers, and that's way creepier. You play a neural detective in a dystopian cyberpunk Poland, diving into people's minds to investigate murders. It's already disturbing, but then you jack into a schizophrenic's brain, and reality just disintegrates. Furniture talks, walls breathe, memories loop. It's less detective noir and more existential breakdown. Add in Rutger Hauer's haunting performance, and you're left with a shocker that sticks to your soul. Yes, it's RE. Yes, it's over the top. But Village goes from gothic horror to werewolf warfare to dollhouse nightmare in one wild ride. Lady Dimitrescu may have gotten all the memes, but the real shock? House Beneviento. It's a no-combat section that turns into a straight-up Silent Hill nightmare, complete with a fetus monster crawling after you in pitch dark. 1 second you're solving puzzles, the next you're hiding in a closet, praying it doesn't find you. Village constantly pulls the rug out, one shock after another. And just when you think it's over, Chris Redfield shows up like a one-man army to blow up your expectations. You thought you signed up for a cool space shooter until it messes with your mind. Returnal starts like a sci-fi action flick and slowly transforms into a psychological descent into guilt, memory loops, and cosmic dread. You crash, you shoot, you die, you loop. But then, what are those house flashbacks? Who is Selena really? The game constantly messes with expectations, combining arcade speed combat with an emotional story that leaves you asking if you're escaping a planet or your past. The twist hits hard, and then it hits harder. You wake up in a Roman city where breaking a single rule gets everyone turned to gold. The Forgotten City looks like a mystery. And it is, but it's also a deep philosophical debate disguised as a time loop puzzle. You question morality, free will, history, and even the gods themselves. The game shocks you not with horror, but with its brains. Conversations stick with you. The endings make you think, and the fact that this masterpiece started as a Skyrim mod, that's the biggest shock of all. Two worlds at once, literally. In the medium, you're exploring both the real world and the spirit world simultaneously. At first, it's a slow burn horror game, but the deeper you go, the more twisted it becomes. The split screen mechanic reveals a shocking duality to reality and memory. The game dives into themes of trauma and abuse so dark, they're genuinely hard to watch. And that final scene, it doesn't end with closure, it ends with a moral punch to the gut. You think you're watching a teen horror movie, and you kind of are. The Quarry is basically a playable Netflix thriller, full of slasher cliches and jump scares. But what shocks you isn't the gore. It's the freedom. Characters can die stupidly early or live through a nightmare depending on the tiniest choices. A decision to take a photo instead of running could mean someone gets their throat ripped out. And just when you think you've figured out the mystery, boom, it turns into something way weirder than just werewolves. It's cheesy, it's brutal, and it plays you like a fiddle. Whew, still breathing? Or did one of those games mentally yeet you into another dimension? Honestly, some of these titles don't just shock you, they rearrange your neurons, question your reality, and then casually ask, hey, wanna play again? Like, no, Inscryption, I'm good. My sanity's already on life support. But that's the magic, right? These aren't just games, they're experiences. Designed to mess with your head, tug on your heart, or just make you go, did that creepy baby just chase me through a basement? Yes, Resident Evil Village, I'm still not over it. Anyway, now it's your turn. Which game totally caught you off guard? Which one left you staring at the credits like, what just happened? Drop it in the comments. I want to hear your war stories. And if you enjoyed this little emotional roller coaster of gaming insanity, hit that like button like you're panic tapping X during a QuickTime event, and maybe subscribe if you want more game lists that mess you up in the best way possible. Until next time, keep your saves backed up, your flashlight batteries full, and never trust a game that opens with "This will be a cute story." Spoiler alert, it won't. Catch you in the next one, legend.